Hey, 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 hey. Hello, everyone. I am Elizabeth, and I'm a human and also a therapist, and I love integrating some of the more esoteric things into my practice, and I work with students at middle school and high school level, and how we do that in the public education setting is through mindfulness cards. So I wanted to share some themes that came up today in hopes that it might be helpful for some of things that the collective is going through, because as an empath, I tend to tap into that a lot. So I thought you might like to hear some of them. So this first one I got was about to not run away. To try to run away from suffering is not wise. To stay with it, to look deeply into it, and to make good use of it is what we should do. Is by looking deeply into the nature of suffering that we discover the path of transformation and healing. Without suffering, there is no happiness and no path to happiness. We can even speak about the goodness of suffering because suffering helps us to learn and grow. Now, I'm not suggesting that we kind of force ourselves through some type of spiritual bypassing about the shit we're going through that's hard, because it's hard out there being human a lot of times. But more so is kind of bringing, I got really high pitched there. More so is bringing through the idea that, in my experience, and those that have done work around continuing to evolve and be of service to the community and the world, it's more often than not the case that the challenges, traumas, and major upsets, chaos we go through is often, if not always, beneficial to someone in our lives down the road. So that's one thing I'm big on in my practice, is being authentically human, and that is to say that I am really real with my students that are often going through their own lives, like turmoils and crap and trauma and attachment issues, and I am doing this work because it's part of my calling, but also because I've been through stuff too that in one way or another caused me to transmute that and turn that into gold. And not to say that it's easy and it always feels wonderful. Like, I was real struggle busting this last weekend with all the emotions that that were passing through me, and also like just all the stuff happening with the planets and the eclipses and everything. I tend to pick up on a lot of that collective energy of all the chaos. So anyways, I was saying that to say that we're all doing our best, and some days it's hard. It's hard to deal with being human and going through our stuff, and also through those hardships can come beauty, and bringing the importance of making meaning in our lives, helping us to align with what really matters. And so this card is, I thought, really beautifully, succinctly put that about with that suffering we go through. If we didn't have that, oftentimes we won't have the happiness. So it's kind of like the idea of like we have to go through the grief because we have such a big heart. And so personally, I've had a lot of experiences with going through emotions and transmuting things to come out the other end and be able to bring some of the messages through with the individuals I'm really lucky to work with, and kind of normalize of like, yep, a lot of us in the collective are feeling themes of that. And also, it's really important, the work you're doing, because you're going to be able to touch someone in some way with your own experience of that. So I just wanted to give that perspective today, because there's enough going on in the world, and that can really cause us to focus on kind of the downsides of the challenges we go through. And it's okay to do that. Sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes we need to struggle bust through. I did it for years of my life, so, never any shame or judgment here, but just really want to share that it's valuable and it's beautiful, the work we're doing, each of us are doing in our lives. So I like to bring in compassionate parts, loving parts, to kind of really be easy on ourselves when we're going through suffering, even if we're in a place where we can't appreciate it, we can't see that it's beneficial for us, or that it's going to be beneficial for someone down the road. That's okay too. That's a fair place to be. And also, I just want to say that I see you guys and all that. It is not easy. And also, it helps us to transcend, to go through that suffering. A lot of times I'm noticing, and I'm sure a lot of you as well, is that my unique hardships are helping me to develop in ways that I really needed. And I obviously would love to not have it be the hardest way sometimes, but it's also wouldn't have happened probably in the way that I need it to, and as profoundly as I needed it to, if it wasn't for the hard things. So that's that one. And then the next one is, are you sure? Many arguments and conflicts come about because we are so sure of our own thoughts and perceptions. Don't be fooled by your perceptions, even if you are sure you are seeing clearly. Check again. Keep an open mind. Be ready to let go of your views. Have we understood the situation clearly? And this one I feel like doesn't even need explanation, but I really like the way that it kind of is checking the ego parts of ourselves that we all have, right? I was using this with a client that I had pulled a card on and felt like it was a collective message, so I wanted to share it here, that a lot of times those perceptions that we go through in relationship in our lives, whether it's like family relationship or challenging relationships at work or school, it's often like putting a magnifying glass on unhealed parts of us. So like I share, because I do a lot of work around what's called parts work, parts of self, and learning to befriend, accept, understand the emotional parts of oftentimes from past events that are still here in the present. And oftentimes they're like, we can call them protective parts. I like to give the metaphor of it being like a knight wearing all his armor, or all their armor, that oftentimes we carry and we wear that armor around because we have parts of us that don't want to feel the pain of rejection, of not being enough or not being seen and valued. So we wear these protective armor parts on us to, we're really quick to look at how people are wronging us in relationship or not showing up for us, and kind of as evidence even more so to kind of go up on our hill and, be protective. And this is something that I think is important, because a lot of us are going through this, about starting to understand what are those parts here to teach us, because oftentimes these what appear to be like protective parts are more often than not younger, more vulnerable, protecting more vulnerable parts of us, or they're younger parts of us kind of dressed up and camouflaged as these protective parts. I'd like to think of it like in Peter Pan, like the Lost Boys, I would think of, are like those protective parts that are like our armor, that are kind of like, oh, we got to be, there's no adults here navigating our car, and so we got to take the reins and, learn how to like get our food and take care of everything, where to sleep and all those things. So these are like parts that aren't really mature, but they've kind of had to step into being like the protectors of us and our systems. And it's so subconscious, we often don't even know that, and they're kind of driving the car. And so that's part of our enlightenment, or like evolution as humans, is to kind of start to understand, oh, this is what's happening. I have these parts that are really afraid or really protective. Maybe they're really, 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 apprehensive or reactive. And so, just kind of knowing that these parts are here for a reason, and starting to just get to know them, get to understand why we respond the way we do, and kind of normalizing it's okay to feel the way you're feeling. Part of me that's feeling like it's got to have a bunch of armor and protection around it. We've been hurt in the past. It's been hard, and also, like, that's just a part of us. And as we start to kind of appreciate the part of, like, wow, you've been working really hard to protect me, and start to bring in building a relationship with some other parts of us, maybe like our nurturing parts or future parts of ourself, our spiritual protective figure parts that we could bring in. We can start to help these other parts build a relationship with, these protective parts, build a relationship with our more present-oriented parts, because these parts are usually in trauma time in the past. So I really like the metaphor that one gave, and I think it can be really useful, or at least I'm finding it useful, because I still have, parts that I'm working through every day about managing. I always think about, like, and I love the movie Inside Out because I've always resonated with having that anger part in me, and still learning to try and let myself safely release anger and feel it in a healthy way. And and also, like, getting to know those protective parts, starting to help them understand they can trust my more present adult or more mature parts to drive the car. That I'm not going to let those kid ones drive the car anymore. Even if sometimes it happens where they show up and they're really intense, and sometimes I do let them drive the car momentarily, but then it's just that awareness of noticing, oh, that just happened. I'm not going to be harsh on myself, but I'm going to notice it and kind of rein it in, let those parts know, I see you got really triggered there from my more present grounded parts. So anyhow, just hope that is helpful. I trust it is. And then there is a cloud in this sheet of paper. If you are a poet, you'll see that clearly that there is a cloud floating in the sheet of paper. Without the cloud, there can be no rain. Without water, the trees cannot grow. And without trees, you cannot make paper. So the cloud is in here. The existence of this page is dependent upon the existence of a cloud. Paper and cloud are so close. Paper and cloud are interconnected. They interrare. This one's kind of similar to, at least the way I'm intuitively kind of reading it, is again about kind of the clouds or situations we go through in our lives. And, like a lot of us with, like, recent energies happening in the world lately, it can feel like those clouds are present a lot. And also it's like a vital part of the process of the ecology of humans here on this earth, on this planet, on this big rock of existence. And sometimes we have to go through those difficult, chaotic, challenging emotions to let them clear and run through and evolve. So, just noticing the clouds as maybe an important and vital place to be sometimes, and that it's a big part about that there's paper and things, that it's part of a whole cycle, a life process, just like our challenging experiences can be in life, that often they are a vital part of getting to the other side, a more grounded individual. So we're at 15 minutes. Do one more. Love is organic. Love is a living, breathing thing. There's no need to force it to grow in a particular direction. If we start by being easy and gentle with ourselves, we will find it's just there inside of us, solid and healing. So I think it's a good one to wrap up everything we talked about today, that love is a healing, living, breathing thing. It just is. It's not something we have to, force or struggle through. If it is, it's not love. And because we are love, like at its core, without all the things happening, the ego, the traumas, the things we have, like, if we can go back just to our very existence, maybe as children for some of us, that love of us was so present. It was so there. And oftentimes our work is just like clearing all the muck from all of our life's experiences. So to kind of reframe a lot of the things of like how we need to think we need to do all these things to build and be a certain person. Like, no, we are that love. It's just kind of coming back to our truth. And it starts with being easy and gentle with ourselves. So I like this one because it it alludes to a lot about the nurturing parts of ourselves that a lot of us are strengthening and building and loving on and appreciating and giving more of a center stage. Just knowing that it's always there, it's solid and healing. Our system always wants to come back to healing. And so that's why we have things like, when people that are going through traumas, it's a cycle. It's like it's going around in a circular way because it wants to come back to healing naturally in our systems. So being able to just trust that your system is, working you towards that. And oftentimes that's why we have like relational conflicts that come up in things. It's because there are unhealed parts of us that want to be healed. They're ready to be healed. And, we can do that work by being patient and attentive and understanding of ourselves as we go through that process. And certainly no one ever needs to go through that alone. I'm a big proponent of therapy, of course. But, people can do that in all kinds of ways, through community, through spiritual practitioners, body practitioners. Like, there are all kinds of ways we can work through those things in our life if we don't feel like talk therapy is the thing for us right now. So yeah, just want to send out some love, say I'm here, just sending a lot of healing and love always towards you all in the community. And yeah, it's an honor to be here with you all. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.